Welcome to RaceSpotTV, welcome to Laguna Seca. What an intimidating, visually inspiring track this is for 60 plus racing adventures. 2 races tonight as you join us at the midway point of this season of this championship. And this is an incredibly unique sim racing championship, as the name hints towards all of our drivers aged 60 or over. I love this championship. It's something fresh, it's something different, and it has great camaraderie between our drivers. Older drivers showing that sim racing is for everyone, but they race each other hard. They're very experienced racers, passionate all their lives long. And now some of them in retirement, racing against each other here on the iRacing service. It's truly amazing. It's something different, and it's always fun to watch. They're gearing up ready for race 1, and we're excited to bring it to you here on RaceSpotTV. I'm David Haynes. You've got with me Dane Baird, Hugo Lewis with the cameras and direction as always. Dane, you've been on this championship a couple times. You've commentated it with me. It's always something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And very rarely you'll see a lot of these drivers in anything else. So they'll always often be in this group. They're practicing for these races. They happen every week. Obviously, we only do the 3 broadcasts on RaceSpotTV. And we're at the midway point of the season now. So they're already very established. Any new drivers that might be in the championship, they're already very settled in. But a lot of familiar names in the championship as well.
Let's look at that championship for this year. We brought you Road Atlanta live on June 15th. Since then, championship's been to Barcelona on the Oval at New Hampshire, to Long Beach, Donington Park. Now here we are, round 6 at Laguna Seca. Lots of famous corners here. Midway point of the championship, it's where championships are sort of lost championship runs are made. There's lots of things to fight for in this championship. The overall title, but also the Super 70s sub-championship for drivers over 70. The teams championship, also very important. It's like having a golf partner. It's like having a bridge partner to some of these guys. They want to work together well for the team. And here is those standings at the minute. Russ Addy up top, but anything can still happen with Bob Cohen, Randy Shoemake, James Ferrier, Bruce Poole, all in close contention there. And your top 12 or so completed by Peter Hallstrom, Barry Hills, John Morgan, Mike Grandy, Jerry Kerr, Eugene Clark, and John Hay. Well, there is 2 minutes left in qualifying that's going to set the grid for race number 1. Then we have a little break. They go qualifying again for race number 2. So you're familiar, Dane, with the point structure in this championship as well. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I absolutely love is that the drivers are still so close. After 5 rounds, barely anybody separated by 20 points or more right up at the front. But then in the midfield, only a couple of points separating most of the drivers. And it continues like that throughout the season as well. So it's really great the way that they do give out the points in this series. But also the drivers are also competitive as well. It's awesome to see, looking at the qualifying standings at the moment, in the midfield of the top 10, round about 10th position, barely anything separating those drivers there.
Now I've got a stupid question for you. Favorite corner at Laguna Seca?
It's actually a tricky one. Probably my favorite corner is, we're actually coming up to it now. So you got the Andretti hairpin for turns, I say it's turns 1 and 2. I don't know if it's officially 2 corners. But this one coming up here, this right-hander, I've gained so many positions at this corner from people going off. It's so easy to do. And if you can get that corner right, it's great. But obviously everyone is going to say the corkscrew. It is such a fun sequence of corners to go through. It's pretty hard to pick anything else.
I think that's a fair assessment of the whole thing. A lot of interesting racing can happen around here. Passing, not impossible. Some difficult braking zones and no paved runoffs. But yeah, that corkscrew. I mean, it's famous. You want to take your car here and get photographed slinging it over the hill there. Car gets light, drops several stories. And it is a passing opportunity in these cars as it is in many others as well. Qualifying almost wrapped up there. Drivers get 2 flying laps in a 10-minute session, and so very often we see all of those done early on in the session, and we're just sort of in a holding pattern at the end. That's the trend here especially. This is a pretty quick lap compared to some other circuits like Road America that almost feels like it's twice as long as this. We can get ready gear up, grid up for race number 1. This is that grid. John Morgan, what a season he's having. Up front on qualifying by 2/10. That's a lot around here, but he's got Paul Stump on his outside. Another fierce competitor. Russ Addy, previous time season's champion there, starting out a 3rd alongside Bob Cohen. We've got Steve Greenwood and Donald Poole on row number 3. It will be row number 3. It will be a 2-wide rolling start in this championship for this race. Donald Fitter and Mike McCormick are row number 4. Marcellus Broening and Bruce Poole, row number 5. And row number 6 is Bob Kern and Ulf Olsen.
Yep, then in row number 7, Jack Turner in 13th. Outside is Randy Shoemake. Richard Coulomb in 15th. Peter Holstrom alongside him. Then Gene Moore and JC Hay rounding out the 18th position. And then we see the final driver to have set lap times in qualifying. Earl Setzer in 19th. Douglas Beasley in 20th. Pierre Dion 21st alongside Mike Grandy. And then Eugene Clark in 23rd. Not setting a lap time in 24th, it was Robert Love. And then
a couple other drivers there as well. Michael Bailey, Gerhardus Jorrison, Richard Varley and Jerry Kerr. Now, in a moment, as they all pull away for their full formation lap around here at Laguna Seca, as it is, we'll see which of those drivers we're going to have on the grid and in our race today. But this is the view backwards from the pace car. Looking at our field, I would hesitate to even try to estimate how many races in 60 plus racing adventures John Morgan has done. Everyone on this grid obviously experienced, but John Morgan in an iRacing sense, even more so, and he's got Paul Stump there, who loves a Lotus livery. Him and Steve Greenwood, I think, very commonly running sort of tribute Lotus liveries, but they've moved from one of those black JPS to more of a yellow this season.
Yeah, and it's good to see that colour being represented. It's not a colour you see a huge amount. A lot of red, a lot of blue.
Except on mustard bottles.
True. Although I did see in the supermarket the other day a red mustard bottle, and it really confused me. So if we could all make them all yellow, that'd be fantastic.
No, good point. But then it does highlight, as we look at today's races, that team's championship, and that's good to have two cars right up there. It's, you know, the combined of the scoring. We'll maybe talk about that team's championship a little more between the races, and when we talk to some of our drivers after the race. Most of the way around the formation lap here, that Porsche safety car going to be pulling in shortly, and it is a slow, tight final corner here that the field are going to have to navigate on their own before they get racing. What's John Morgan opt to do? Field relatively spread. Now, Concertina's a bit through the final corner. John Morgan still waiting. Gets going. Now underway for race number 1 of 60 plus racing adventures. That is a good start from John Morgan. You can see Paul Stump though immediately under a bit of pressure from Russ Addy. There goes Bob Cohen trying to break around the outside. Cold tyres for everyone on a race start like this. Even with that formation lap, they've got to be careful. Car is at its most twitchy right now. Then the tyres will warm up, grip up, and they've got to be careful the tyres don't fade later on. It's 24 laps and looking to move early on board with Marcellus Broening. He's looking to the inside. Oh, and there is almost contact, and I think it's Marcellus Broening who avoids it there. That's through the sequence that Dane Baird really likes.
Yeah, and he got all over the red sausage curb on the inside there. That can massively unsettle the car, and if you do clip it on a regular lap, that's going to lose you a bunch of lap time, but he really had to. He was forced onto it. There was no other way for him to go. As you've got Gene Moore
around in the gravel there. It looks like it might be a tiny bit earlier in the lap. Leaders coming through the corkscrew right now. But again, no paved runoff around here. Plenty of places you can find that gravel, and it is cold tyres at the start here in a relatively cold track too of 24 Celsius. So when they get their tyre temperature, they're going to be quick. But here's what happened to Gene Moore. Outbrakes himself, makes avoiding action.
Keeps out of the wall though. A little bit of contact with the driver in front, but it looked like he managed to get it stopped millimeters away from the wall. So not too much damage on the car hopefully, and won't be all the way to the back of the field.
Paul Stump from second runs it a bit wide. Russ Addy's looking to get down the inside, becomes the outside. He's made it work, so a lock-up and an error from Stump sees Russ Addy up into second place. They're so close here in this group, but it is letting John Morgan get away a little bit. Oh, take a look at something's happened to Marcellus Broining. He's also gotten in a little bit hot. Had a brake lock-up, no ABS in these cars. Obviously, there's very few Formula cars that do.
Yeah, I don't think I know of any Formula cars that have ABS, to be honest with you. But
no, I started that sentence and then I thought of every Formula car I know and I was like, no ABS. So there you go, not a common thing. These are meant to be challenging cars. This is the Indy Pro 2000, part of the Road to Indy ladder. It's meant to challenge and develop and grow young drivers in their skill set. I wouldn't dare hesitate to say it's young drivers we've got in today, but it's challenging and growing them as well. As you see Bob Cohen pinched a little bit to the inside there. That tight line means he's not quick enough, and Paul Stump will hold on.
Yeah, it's I would say the equivalent of F3, but on the IndyCar ladder, so it's like the third rung on that ladder. So we've got a couple of drivers dropping back down the timing tower quite massively, it looks like. We'll see a replay of what's happened further back.
Ulf Olsen, a little bit of nose-to-tail contact in the final corner there as he rejoins. Oh, is that poor Marcellus Broining again? Might be. He's in a very metallic blue. Yeah, and Ulf Olsen, unfortunately, has to watch the whole field go by, except for Gene Moore and JC Hay, before he can get going again. Very costly right there. Looking at this group up front, though, they are still racing mighty close. Ross Addy's set off to try to catch John Morgan. Paul Stump still maybe struggling with his braking a little bit, but did very well in qualifying, holding his own. Now he's fended off a couple of tacks and he's getting into the rhythm of it.
We'll see the drivers make their way through these final couple of corners here. It's a very flowing circuit, this. There's loads of high to medium speed corners, only a couple of really hard braking zones. But almost every single corner has got those massive red curbs on the inside, the anti-cut curbs. And they are huge. If you hit one of those, especially in the middle portion of the circuit, where you're trying to carry as much speed as possible, that's a massive way of ruining your lap time and potentially spinning the car out. So it's really important for the drivers to be as close to them as possible, cut as much of the corner as possible, but avoid those red curbs at all costs.
I think you'd almost damage the underneath of the car in these, hitting those wrong or too often. I think there is a big penalty to be paid if you clip those red apex curves too much, and they're especially in the sort of first half of the lap from the hairpin around the inside section. Oh, a little bit of the dirt on the outside of one of the quickest corners here for Paul Stump. No, Greenwood, Steve Greenwood. The livery's catching me out there, but they're both similarly struggling with their braking, and they're both being hunted by red cars.
It certainly doesn't help, with the liveries being the same as their teammates battle it out there. But yeah, Donald not choosing to make any unnecessary lunges. It is one of the things that I do like about this series, is that the drivers are all very experienced. They're not young and rash, and so they don't often send it up the inside from 5 miles back. They do often take care with the overtakes, which is always good. So we usually get some very clean racing, especially up at the front where the drivers are so close. When one makes a small mistake, usually we definitely see someone try and send it into the corkscrew there, but Bitterer has a good head and doesn't go for anything ridiculous.
It's like a bunch of friends that meet at the golf club every Wednesday afternoon, except they're sim racing. That's seriously the vibe you get from 60 Plus Racing Adventures. They race each other every week. They're very familiar with each other. You want to give your mates a little bit of niggle, but you don't want to, put them off. Send them into the wall. So that's how they race. And Poole, putting the pressure on to Fitterer there, and after a couple quarters does get through. Just a couple mistakes, the pressure starting to get to Fitterer in that occasion.
One thing I have noticed, that corkscrew, drivers are cutting over the grass or dust. Is it on the inside, I guess, at this point? Yeah, and it's bringing some dirt onto the track surface on the inside there. that does affect the cars. It does get slippery there. And so, yeah, drivers are going to have to struggle there as we see an overtake happening here. It looks like Cohen's finally going to get ahead of Stump.
Good. Big braking zone here. Who's judged it best? Bob Cohen's going to hold on there. Stump not able to get a look at him. So second, third, fourth, and closing in on this from behind as well. All good for John Morgan, though. You can just see him in some of the shots here now. 2.5 seconds ahead of where all of the battles up front are. There's battles all the way through the field, though, it should be noticed. Bob Kern, Bruce Poole, Randy Shoemake, familiar names there, battling over 9th. Peter Hostrom and Mike Grandy a bit further back. Richard Coulomb, Michael Bailey, Marcellus Broining trying to fight his way back is in 17th with some cars in front to try to pass. So that's kind of the point of this is there's great racing up front, but there's great racing all through the field, and everyone gets to race someone. That's what they're here for. Here's Broining, and then Bruce Poole was also shaping to make a move, decided too early in race number 1 to be sending it into the corkscrew. Now going to get by one of the lap down cars there, I think. I reckon it's probably Richard Varley, or was it Robert Love? Anyway, one of them, very respectful, aware of what's going on, aware of their surroundings and the racing situation too.
Yeah, I did see them coming out of the pit lane. They're done. They went through the pit lane and they stopped completely on the circuit just outside of the pit exit as all the 61's off.
No.
Oh, not again.
Marcel Sproning is going to be ruining this coverage. He doesn't. Every time we go to him, it's not for great reasons. He was in a fight, trying to gain some of those positions back. He's pushed too hard through the penultimate corner, caught some of the gravel, looped him around and got him a long way from the track, but thankfully not in the wall. We cut to live action. Oh, that is such a fast corner. You struggle to go too wide through there. Dong Fitterer goes back one. Poole goes up a spot.
Yep. Good clean racing. Looking at cars going side by side into that corner, you're always a little bit but yeah, they did well. Bitter in the end having to back out of that one.
When you're the car on the inside, you want to be all the way down the inside because it's such a committed fast one-line corner. Michael Bailey is looped around at the exit of it, trying to get it going. A little bit of a smoke show, and for him again, it's just tagging it on the exit, just leaving the paved surface. It'll loop you around. You're also a bit unsighted as you go into there, and it does have one of those big red curves, and there's several ways you can come unstuck and get in trouble there.
Yeah, another thing about this.
Club Canada, Club Benelux, could be two French speakers, could be not, but they are battling over 16th. I'd put to you that Yorison doesn't sound like an especially French-speaking name, but you never know.
There's just another part about this circuit is you got the big curves on the inside, and then on the outside you got zero tarmac. I think there's one corner with tarmac, or two corners with tarmac runoff. The final corner on turn 1. Everything else, yeah, you're gonna find some dust or some gravel, and yeah, it's very slippery stuff. You don't want to be getting the outside tires on that, otherwise, as we've seen a couple times already, around your car is going to go, and it can be very tricky to keep that from happening, especially through these corners that are got to commit to them. And if you full send slightly too much, well, might end up spinning around facing the other way.
Turn 1, it's only because that's where the old layout goes and they haven't ripped up the pavement.
Hey, runoff is runoff.
Yeah, exactly. Great onboard here as you see the wheel work, the gears, everything. Trying to hold the car in front. Gotta be careful with the throttle in first gear in these because it's a revvy engine in them. And it'll catch you out in those lower gears. It'll break traction at the rear, something you don't think about in third or fourth gear, where you can kind of just mash the power on, given the grip you've got and the less than top tier horsepower.
Oh, Kern.
Yep.
Bob Kern off.
It was battling with Bruce Poole. You see Bruce Poole go on by. Randy Shoemaker and Jack Turner are the next 2 cars behind. So, that just pushed out real wide there, didn't it? Rejoins safely. Not where I thought the problem was going to be.
Yep, the car just... Ooh! As we cut to live coverage, that's not great for Kern there. Car snapping on the exit. Again, keeping out of the wall, though. Drivers have done a good job of that so far. I don't think we've seen anyone smash into the walls yet, but they're having to defend off.
Now you've gone and done it. Fair enough. We'll see. But just struggling in some weird places and weird ways. I got to wonder if he's maybe actually got a problem with his hardware or something. We'll see. He's going to try to defend this position now. Randy right behind him, I think. What's almost an Australian tribute livery there, I think. I think that's a DJR Team Penske livery.
My knowledge of car liveries is shockingly poor, so I'm not even going to try and guess what that might be. But Kern going...
Also got Richard Coulomb in there in the green as well. So running lap 10 to 24 means we're really getting through this race number 1. Quick laps around here, and John Morgan leads. He's got it out to 3.4 seconds. They're still battling fantastically over second and the spots behind. Love that angle through the corkscrew. Anything to try to show you how aggressive the elevation change is. Everyone says it, but every steep racetrack is steeper in real life than it looks in the pictures. Bit of a switchback here as he got the right brake. Oh no! Looped around at the rear for Gerhardus Jorgensen. Just gets it pointed the right way. It looked like a super late braking move, and in the end it probably was.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too much. Try and take on. Brakes at some point, or the tyres are going to lose a little bit of grip, and around the car will go. Back onto the point of steepness at racetracks. I didn't actually think about Dunlop chicane at Le Mans, how steep that is, until I had to walk up it when I was there for the 24. That is a very steep and very long hill up towards the Dunlop bridge from the start-finish line. Yeah, it took me a good 5-10 minutes to walk up it, and it is very difficult. It's a very steep hill. It doesn't feel that way when you're driving it.
Gerhardus Jorgensen here, refusing to learn, mayhaps, but he's in amongst a great battle here. This is 17th to 22nd. All together here, swarming like bees, and Jerry Kerr, I think, is going to get by. It's Ulf Olsen. Oh, a bit of contact there.
Oh.
Olsen and Jorgensen. Jerry Kerr, I think, also goes off. So, spins Jerry. Gets tapped by Olsen and facing the wrong way in the corkscrew for Gerhardus Jorgensen there. Up front there was a change of position, and I think I'm not sure, but they're racing here. Ross Addy, Paul Stump and Steve Greenwood, and we're looking at Fitterer and Cohen in red again.
Yeah, too many red cars. Get them all confused.
The red cars go faster.
That is... well, we'll see. What's the colour of the car leading at the moment, David?
It's sort of... well, it's green and white, isn't it?
Yeah. So how's that red cars are faster theory working?
Well, no. No, everyone else trying to catch him needs a red car if they're any hope of catching him.
Ah, okay. We'll see. It's looking close, though, between these guys. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, it is. bit of understeer on the turn in there from Cohen, because you get this great view of where his hands are pointing, what the inputs are, and you don't need too much. Normally his car is pretty willing to turn. How long have we had birds here?
I've never seen those before.
I've never seen those before.
I think those are reserved for Hugo's beast of a PC. I think no one else is allowed to see them except Hugo.
There's a hidden checkbox. Only enables when it detects that you've got like 23090 Ti's or something. Oh, Donald Poole from up front looped it. He must have some pretty big damage there as well. He's dropped now, and he just gets it too wide at the first apex of the corkscrew. Bottoms the car out on the second apex, spins it around, and noses into the unprotected concrete.
Very, very small contact with the wall there. Maybe just dislodge the suspension a bit though.
Maybe he had to get something out of the oven anyway. You never know. You never know. But the lead extending still for John Morgan, 4 seconds by my timing. Our on-screen graphic, I'm sure, will catch up shortly. Oh, Richard Coulomb facing the wrong way. Oh. Careful, careful, careful.
Always a worrying sign when you see a car facing the wrong way, trying to turn itself back around with a blind corner behind them as cars are coming past. We can see those cars on the other side of the wall. Definitely not the case for the 771 driver. Here, that was the big one. That could have been very nasty.
I give it a 9 out of 10 for watching the relative box, 3 out of 10 for that flick spin, because he only broke traction once he was already facing the right way. Here's Russ, Addy. Oh, there's a bit of traffic and they get tangled with it. Oh, unfortunate poor stump into the wall there. Addy and Greenwood and Fitterer all go by.
Getting on the brakes was the 9?
I think so. That was more closing speed than just rolling out of the throttle.
Maybe trying to let them pass, and just unfortunate timing there.
Puts this as the battle for third place. Greenwood now trying to hold the hopes of the team. Fitterer behind and Cohen right there as well.
Very different lines being taken by the drivers, I've noticed, especially through the corkscrew.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can pick and choose which way you brake there as well. Some drivers go all the way left-hand side of the road to brake in a straight line to the right-hand side. Some point a little more towards the apex of the corner. And again, you're mighty unsighted on your way towards that crest, the braking zone, and then once you can see the first apex of the corner, you just still got to turn in and commit to that before you can see the second apex.
Two-thirds race distance then. Lovely gap out in front for Morgan. Good 5 seconds. Very comfortable.
Yeah, it hasn't been growing rapidly, but it's just padding out lap by lap by lap. Nice to have that in your pocket when there is more likelihood of traffic interaction because of the pretty quick nature of this lap. I think the fastest lap of the race looks like it belongs to Donald Fitterer at an 1 minute 18.4. So anyone who needs to pit for repairs is likely to come out, right on that fringe of going a lap down. So for the cars that need repairs, they've got to be aware of that. But for John Morgan, it means won't be plain sailing all the way to the end. He's got to manage that gap behind, but also just be careful, patient, methodical and predictable if and when he catches a bit of traffic.
Draft not being as strong as you would think it would be in these cars. So Fitterer gaining a bit, but not quite as much. And you've got to think dirty air is going to be a little bit of a problem around here with all the medium to high speed corners.
California have spent decades trying to combat dirty air. There's no getting around that. This is a car that is just a little aero sensitive to following another. You get that slipstream that catches up the car in front just a little bit, but no massively long straights here, and then plenty of those medium speed things where it just throws off your balance a little bit, even through a corner like here. Or of course, that really, really fast left-hander before you turn up towards the corkscrew.
Yeah, just understeer central through half the corners on the circuit if you are following another car. And then this being the longest straight section on the circuit, and yeah, not really gaining a whole lot of the slipstream. You'll see now starting to close in, but still way too far back to think about a move. Goes to the inside and actually does force a bit of a defensive move there from Greenwood, but yeah, nothing too serious. They're just trying to fill the mirrors, remind the 555 driver that still there.
Yeah, indeed. A mistake is never far away at Laguna Seca, so you keep your hopes up if you're in a position like Donald Fitterer is, or Jack Turner is, or Bob Kern is. 3 battles on circuit at the moment. As I say that, 7 and 8 space out just a little bit. Other battles going on, not just this one over that final podium step at the minute. Yeah, different lines once again on braking in towards the corkscrew. That's where it is most noticeable. Who are you picking in this then, Dane?
Oh, it's tough to say. I think they're very closely matched, and without mistakes, Greenwood holds on to it. I think there's not really too much of a question about that. But it is so easy to make a mistake here. It does, it's almost certain that Fitterer gets past. So it's a tricky one. 6 laps for them to try and navigate till the end of the race. I think Greenwood has a good shot. Greenwood has a very good shot at holding on to this one, I think.
They were quicker than Russ Addy on the last lap though, and he's only a second and a half in front. You see him in a couple of shots and he's catching them. This is one of those other battles I was talking about. That looks like Jack Turner trying to catch Bruce Poole. Poole, a little shaky there. Get some of that famous California sand.
Massive compression on the apex of that left hand that they've just gone through as well. Helps to grip the car up, but the second the compression ends, back end wants to step out through the corkscrew. They go. Love this camera angle through the corkscrew there. So much understeer through this part of the circuit though, and that's just going to be heating up the tires as well, giving them yet more understeer and then oversteer in the slow speed stuff as well. So definitely something that drivers have to watch out for, especially with 24 lap races. They're not particularly short. Drivers do have to watch out for their tires. Maybe not so much wear, but definitely the temperature, the heat in the tires gets too high. You're not going to have a fun time out there.
Yeah, just the heat build up and then the slip leads to more heat build up, and towards the end of a race like this they can get away from you. No one challenging their fastest laps of the race at this phase of the race. The grip not exactly where it was, and now I'm curious. I'm going to look what lap Fitterer set his personal best. And the answer is it would have been lap 13. So So we're right in the middle of the race. We burnt off a little bit of the fuel, got the tyres into the right window, hooked up a little bit of a slipstream. But before, you know, the tyres got a little bit too hot, the track got a little too greasy.
Gap between Greenwood and Fitterer pretty much hovering and around about the same margin, but they are still catching. Addy in second place there, you can see. Around about half a second between third and fourth, and about a second between second and third. A mistake from anyone in that battle, it's going to have a massive chain reaction.
Yeah, correct. This is your second and your third and your fourth, and you catch them all in one shot as we go here. Addy is being just slowly closed by the end of this, and sort of also allows that gap to the leader, John Morgan, to expand just a little bit as it has. Final corner here, the only one of they use first gear, bit of a lock up there from Greenwood, but Donald Fitterer just can't take any advantage from it because he wasn't predicting it, he wasn't expecting it, and it doesn't let him get around. It just costs them both time to Addy.
Yep, if these two do start having a serious battle going side by side, that will pretty much gift Addy that second position. No hope of chink. They start going side by side, so Greenwood trying to catch to Addy. Has to make sure Fitterer is not going to sneak up alongside. Big old gap behind them though. 3 seconds or so to Cohen, and then good 10 seconds back to McCormick in 6th.
Yeah, for sure. Still, again, 3 battles out there. This is one of them. This is the highest placed one, only a couple tenths in it, and Fitterer sniffing for another mistake from Greenwood. Needs to be one he sees coming. Again, I think that's different lines into the final corner. Fitterer does like to turn in later, and Greenwood likes to point the car towards the apex a little more, it would seem. Two more laps to go, so if it's going to happen, it's got to happen shortly. John Morgan leads by 5 seconds. Russ Addy just got a second ahead of this battle.
Gap is so much smaller now. You can see maybe 2 car lengths between them. The closest it's been in a while.
Fitterer knows it's sort of now or never, I think, and that's encouraging him to just run a little bit closer.
Doesn't really matter if you start heating up the tyres at this point in the race as well. You've only got a lap and a half to go. Getting ahead is definitely priority number 1 for Fitterer right now.
And he's super close, but you've got to be very kamikaze to outbrake from that far back there. He's just going to stay in place, keep the pressure on, try to cut back with some different lines, hope for some understeer from the driver in front, which happens, but just not enough to get around, but enough to slow them both up a little bit wide. You look to the inside of the final corner, he doesn't. You'd be tempted, you'd think about it, but it's not on the menu for today. Barney's got the white flag out at the start-finish line. John Morgan has taken that, and he's looking to bring this one home. Russ Addy in second, getting a bit of breathing room, but by the way that they're fighting here over third and fourth.
Probably only maybe 2 opportunities to overtake the rest of the lap. See how tantalizingly close that car is just in front of Fitterer here. Trying to get a good run out of this tournament. Has actually got one. Very, very close. Through the left-hander will be very important. Oh, it doesn't quite get a good enough exit. Lunge into the corkscrew, not going to be possible. I think it's only the final corner now where a move might be able to be made.
just can't go that close through a quick corner like that. Into the final sector they are, battling over third and fourth. Up front, John Morgan though, what a race he's had so far from the pole position. A great race start, and he has just inched and walked it away from them. He's going to take the checkered flag and the win in race number 1 for 60 Plus Racing Adventures from Laguna Seca, round 6 of this season. Russ Addy came under a little bit of pressure, but he holds on for second, and then it's Greenwood from Fitterer in that third and fourth battle. Jack Turner though, he's still pursuing Bruce Poole. They're past the corkscrew, and that's typically your best overtaking opportunity on the lap. From there on out, you've got to be hoping for a mistake. Jack Turner, are you going to look to the inside on the final lap, on the final corner? He is, and there's going to be contact. His competitor hard into the wall, Turner into the wall too. And for Bruce Poole, it sends him into pit entry. Not how he wanted his race to end.
Really unfortunate stuff there. As another driver who's had some misfortune, number 54. Paul Stump, obviously having that altercation with a lap driver.
Yeah, final drivers coming around to take the checkered flag. That's one of them there. Wow, mighty dramatic with Bruce Poole and Jack Turner there. All sort of smelt it coming, mostly covered the inside. Jack Turner still thought he saw a gap there. This is how they finish. John Morgan, pole to the win, converts it in race 1 at Laguna Seca. Russ Addy, Steve Greenwood, Donald Fitterer chasing him along. Bob Cohen, Mike McCormick. Jack Turner ends up with 7th there for Bob Kern, Randy Shoemake, and Peter Hallstrom. Got Mike Grandy, Pierre Zione, Eugene Clark, Paul Stump, Richard Coulomb, and Bruce Poole. Last car on the lead lap by virtue of kind of getting crashed on the last lap. He couldn't get lapped on it, and that's the quirk of the timing there. It shows his gap to the leader the last time he crossed the line, and then got towed across it after the checkered flag. And we've got Gene Moore, JC Hay, Richard Varley, and Robert Love. And the final 8 there: Gahardis, Joris and Elsets, Jerry Kerr, Olsen, Donald Poole, Douglas Beasley, Marcel Speroni, and Michael Bailey. Well, that's our winner, John Morgan, and you know what? We've got the pleasure of grabbing him to have a chat. Congratulations there, John. Laguna Seca treating you well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was just one of those days where everything seemed to click, and my race pace was just solid. So
I was in Florida a couple of weeks ago and no one had anything kind to say about California. I suspect you might be a man to buck that trend.
a little bit. Yeah, it's the funny thing is Laguna is not really one of my favorite places, but again, it just, I guess, sort of suits my driving style. I was just lucky to get a little bit of a gap so I didn't have pressure the whole race, and then they started fighting behind me, which allowed me to sort of maintain a nice gap, which is always a great feeling when you're up front.
No doubt. And how did you find the grip and the conditions then? Because a relatively cool track is probably good for the life of the tyres towards the end of the run, but does it give you troubles at the start maybe?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I'm a little bit of, the weird thing is I'm a little bit of a slow starter, but I somehow managed to just get it to work today. But yeah, this track is smooth, and so the slides are more predictable than a bumpy track where a bump can sort of throw you offline. So as long as you don't hit anything and you hit any of those sausage curbs, it's kind of predictable. And the tires, I think the last maybe 2 or 3 laps, I noticed that there was a little bit more slip, but nothing that you couldn't deal with.
Now, if my reading of the timing is correct here, you missed out on the fastest lap of the race by 0.02 of a second. Donald Fitterer pipped that one from you, but that'd suggest that your race pace around here wasn't bad.
No, like I said, it felt pretty good. It's felt good all week in practice, and we switched sets in the middle of the week, so it took me a little bit in the early practice today to sort of get used to this one. But after I sort of settled into it, it became very predictable, and that's really what I look for, and usually what makes me fast. If I can just sort of be consistent from lap to lap, I gain confidence from that.
You'll gain confidence from that win and hopefully carry it forward to race number 2 later, John.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, David.
We go race winner John Morgan. Dane, we've got a couple others standing by as well. I'll let you find who you will.
Yeah, let's bring in then second place in the 111 machine. Russ Addy joins us now. And Russ, pretty good performance from you out there.
Why, thank you. It was, I felt like the cork in a line of cars behind me. John had us all, and felt like I was holding everybody up.
I don't think you're holding anyone up too much. You had a good battle with Paul Stump, was it, during the race. Unfortunately, that ended after a couple of lap cars. But talk us through, I want to know, how is it following another car at the circuit? Because we've seen a couple of drivers seem to just be suffering from severe understeer through some of the medium speed corners. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, that is a bit of a problem. Understeer's there, and if you drive the corner too hard, oversteer appears. Unfortunately, I wasn't that close to John to have that much trouble with following someone.
And the circuit itself then, Laguna Seca, obviously a tricky circuit. Corkscrew aside, what is your favorite part of the course to drive? Because obviously the corkscrew is super fun, but there's loads of other super cool corners.
I like turn 1. I think the double apex sequence there is nice. That quick left up the hill is always a little scary to me. So it's not one of my favorite tracks, but unfortunately I wound up in second.
And only a 10th off the fastest lap as well. So looking good heading into race 2?
I hope. It's all down to qualifying. If you're not in the top 4 or 5, it's hard because those guys just pull away.
Well, good luck for that, and we hope to see you back again after that one.
We'll see. I'll do my best. And thanks for broadcasting.
Well, thanks for joining us and for putting on a good show as well. That's Russ Addy, second place, of course, in race number 1. See how he can get on in the second race.
Yep, and the man that he sort of battled all the way to the end there, unflappable.
All the races this year, and then, of course,
every time we grab them, they're mid-conversation, aren't they, Steve Greenwood? Hello, sorry to pull you away.
Okay, no worries.
How did you find that there with Donald Fitterer chasing you all the way to the end?
That was fun. It's good racing with Donald. You can trust him 100%. And yeah, it was fun with Russ and Donald behind me. It made life interesting.
No doubt. And Laguna Seca, very, very well known around the world. Free content on iRacing, so all the iRacers know it as well. Everyone's cut some laps around here. How do you find an edge over someone else in that circumstance?
I've not done that many laps around here, to be honest. I'm going to upset lots of people, aren't I? I don't like the track. So, yeah, I don't think I have an edge here. I struggle.
Well, very honest self-appraisement there, but you held on under quite a lot of pressure from Fitterer at the end, almost catching Russ Addy as well at points.
Yeah, I picked up damage. There was an incident, you obviously probably saw it on the stream, that there was an incident in front of us. Paul, unfortunately, got tagged by a lap car, and one of them hit my back right wheel, and I picked damage up, and it was a bit, in fact I've just been apologising to Donald for that, because it was a bit sketchy to the last laps. It was the car was a bit unpredictable.
Well, you held on. You get that third place. We made mention of the team's championship, and your teammate there in Paul Stump not getting, I guess, the result that his drive deserved. But is that, you know, a week in, week out focus for you guys?
Yeah, well, Paul and I concentrate on the team more than we do individually, I would say. You know, I mean, if we win, obviously it's nice. We both want to win, obviously, but yeah, the team championship is something that we like to get.
Does that mean when we get towards race 2, you're going to be doing everything you can to help Paul to a good result?
Not necessarily, no.
Again, a very, very honest self-appraisal there, and I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you battling out on track again in race 2.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Great sense of humour on a lot of our drivers, I think, Dane.
Yeah, of course, they're all here for a good time at the end of the day, so yeah, they always do have a bit of a laugh at the end of each race. Looking forward to race 2, though. It should be a good one. Got a couple of drivers having not the best luck, maybe, in this one.
Yeah, we can let the good times roll with race number 2. It's not so far away, so stick with us on RaceSpotTV. When we come back, I think at the top of the hour, we'll be qualifying for race number 2. Again, we heard that's so important, the qualifying around here. Passing, not so easy. If you start too far back, it's a tough challenge to try to catch the leader. Join us for qualifying and race number 2 in 60 Plus Racing Adventures around the corner. We'll see you for that in a moment. Thanks for sticking with us. Welcome back to 60 plus racing adventures at Laguna Seca. We are getting ready, gearing up for race number 2. But before we can do that, we've got to go qualifying. And that's what's happening right now out on the circuit. Once again, David Haynes with you with Dane Baird and Hugo Lewis, our illustrious producer. Dane, they said it after race 1, and I'm inclined to agree. Qualifying is pretty important around here for these cars.
Yeah, it definitely is, and as we saw in race 1, it can be very difficult to overtake. You don't have the longer straights to try and build up a draft, a slipstream, try and boost your way past the other drivers. You don't have a whole lot of heavy braking zones, and there's a lot of medium speed corners, so the understeer through those for the dirty air is killing the drivers trying to make any opportunities for overtaking. It's also overheating their tires, as we heard from the drivers who try and overdrive the corner to go a little bit faster than the guy in front of you, and it's just a never-ending cycle. So qualifying up at the front is very important now, especially at this circuit.
So we watch Marcellus Bräuning. He's just started his first flying lap. Conditions the same as in race number 1. So I think that second lap definitely going to be the quicker flying one. Probably what lap 1 is your banker. Marcellus Bräuning is not treating it like that. You reckon this lap is all fair play on?
He certainly made a huge lock up there, and that's going to be a lap
say no.
aborted. Yeah.
A learning lap for Marcellus Bräuning. He's got one more opportunity. A couple drivers who haven't missed their one shot. John Morgan to the top for the moment. Shoemake Coulomb sticking times to the board. Here comes Bob Kern. Finish his lap 1. Start his lap 2. Or maybe start his lap 1. Nope. He goes 4th fastest, as you can see the times begin to add. And he's setting up for that second apex through the Andretti hairpin complex. That looks like a bit of understeer as he goes into some of the mid-speed corners here as well.
Yeah, the car definitely not wanting to turn too much, and especially through the medium speed stuff. The slow speed stuff, it seems to do just fine, even a little bit of over-rotation through some of the slower corners. But his medium speed corners in the middle sector, the car does look like it's really labouring around them, and the last thing you want, especially when you've got to try and follow another driver, just compounds that issue. Heavy braking into the corkscrew now. Let's see the line taken. Nice and tight to both apexes there.
Well, it's sort of all or nothing. If you're Bob Kern, you've already got a time of a 1:20.4. Desperately trying to improve on that if you can on this lap. If you can't improve, give it your best attempt regardless. So he's going to come out that final corner and he's going to power towards Barney. And is it going to be an improvement on a 20.4? The answer is yes, it is. The 19.9, so half a second from lap 1 to lap 2. Not a bad progression at all. Russ Addy, where's he at? The answer is that was his second flying lap. And it gave him a 1:18.9. So how many other drivers have still got laps in their back pocket? Again, 2 laps allowed in qualifying. A lot of them go right out there, go straight into it. Leaves the track a little quiet towards the end of qualifying. Bob Kern, though, I think he's decided he needs a little more practice because he's done his 2 flying laps, but he's still out there, still trying to gauge out these conditions. The same is true of current pole sitter Donald Poole, and there's very few who are going to be able to take that away from him. Shoemake, I think, might have gone off track on his second flying lap. Same for Paul Stump. Jack Turner is on his second flyer. Get caught up in a little bit of that traffic in race number 1. We'll be looking for a good qualifying. I don't think the first lap was perfectly representative of Jack Turner's speed at a 1:21.3. So all tidy so far. So if he's going quicker, I would just be bringing this one home. He's got 2 corners left. Got to catch some of the camber through the penultimate corner. Got to brake deep, rotate, and get that power out well from the slow final corner. Slowest corner on the circuit. I think even slower than the Andretti hairpin. tighter, so you can get down into first gear. And that is a handsome little improvement for Jack Turner.
Yep, up into 13th place now. 120 dead. Oh, Bob Kern taking a little bit of dust. Gravel on the outside with him as he makes his way up towards the corkscrew here.
That's what he's got this practice for. And I think it's just him, Donald Poole, and Steve Greenwood out at the moment. Greenwood's on a flyer here. Greenwood, I think, went off track on his first attempt. Is this going to be a lap for the 555? He's come to stop, has he? Yeah, okay, no qualifying time. No, now a qualifying time for Steve Greenwood as he goes to 5th.
Yeah, there we go, 118.8. Through the corkscrew goes a number 8 machine there. Holstrom. Ooh. Taking a bit of the curb there on the inside of a couple corners. Don't want to be doing that too much.
So a bit further down the grid then for those European Racing Motors drivers of Greenwood and Stump. Remember, they had 2nd and 5th in race number 1. Greenwood's gone to 5th, Paul Stump to 8th. So, bit of work to do. Points in this championship, rather unique. We have 2 races, but the championship points is whichever was your best result of race 1 or race 2. So you definitely go into race 2 looking to do better than you did in race number 1. So for Steve Greenwood, that'll be a challenging effort. For Paul Stump, a result's a result, a result. That's what he's looking for. And John Morgan with the win in race number 1 is not going to go any better than that. And if someone else can get a win, they can match him. Obviously, someone will win race number 2, but it's someone other than John Morgan this time.
Yeah, it's not looking great for Morgan there in 4th position. Got a lot of work to do. Only 0.2 of a second off though. Super close up there at the top.
No clean sweep last week when Ragnar Wisloff won race number 1 at Donington Park and Russ Addy grabbed race number 2.
See what Morgan can try and do to get that double victory at Laguna. It is definitely going to be difficult though. 3 extremely quick drivers ahead of him. All got a little bit to prove.
Fair enough to go and lock in our grid now. It was kind of locked in a couple of minutes ago when everyone had used their lap allocation. No one going to take that pole away from Donald Poole, but Bob Cohen was mighty close there. This is a pretty competitive first couple of rows of the grid, because on the second row, Donald Fitterer and your race 1 winner John Morgan, Steve Greenwood and Russ Addy. On that 3rd row, then Ulf Olsen, Paul Stump, Marcellus Bruining in 9th, Randy Shoemate in 10th, Kern and Bruce Poole are row number 6 together.
And we've got Richard Coulomb in 13th position there. Jack Turner alongside with Valley in 15th position. JC Hay alongside him on row number 8. Dean Moore and Earl Setzer in row number 9. Row 10 is populated by Mike Grandy alongside Peter Holstrom. And then Eugene Clark and Robert Love in 21st and 22nd. Mike McCormick and Pierre Dion rounding out the top 24 drivers.
Here they are all lined up on the grid. Safety car just starts to pull away, and so does your pole sitter for the formation lap. Once again, 24 laps. Same weather as well. It's 24 Celsius, which is an amount of Fahrenheit. Mentioned this Andretti hairpin as a real challenge. Fastest point on the track is braking into that corner, and then it's pick and choose how many apexes do you want.
Not a lot of wind out there on the circuit. That's at least one positive that the drivers have out of there, is that they're not going to be facing high winds. Obviously, going through some of the corners of the circuit with high winds might be a little bit interesting, especially through the medium sections. Wind catches you off, it can happen, but not when the wind is only 2 miles an hour.
No, and it won't be carrying that race car noise too far and getting complaints and getting this place shut down.
Well, yeah, there is that too. My advice, if you are annoyed by the noise from a nearby racetrack, don't build a house next to a racetrack and then complain about the racetrack noise.
Around the world, what a consistent story. Just in the last week or so, Wakefield Park in New South Wales having similar problems with their neighbours and the city council and the courts. It's all rather depressing. What won't be is when we go racing for 24 laps here. Donald Poole has that pole position. He's got the inside in the green car. Bob Cohen, metallic red on his outside, sharing the front row, and some known race winners, proven quantities right in behind them. John Morgan, Russ Addy, and others get going. Good jump from Donald Poole once again. Bob Cohen looks like he might be caught napping here, because Donald Fitterer is going to squeak down the inside, try to take that second away. Good launch from Fitterer, good track position, good placement. Cold tyres for everyone as they come into the first braking zone and first corner. They've got to be so careful as they put the power down out of there. Poole feeling some pressure, and it's Gene Moore around. Don't get it beached. No! Beached on the sausage curb. Sometimes you bite the sausage and sometimes the sausage bites you.
Very unfortunate stuff. Couple curbs that can do that, and these red ones at Laguna Seca definitely in that category.
Like
it's
Randy,
all
Eugene
carnage.
Clark, Peter Holstrom there getting caught up. No problems really for the front of the pack here though. Donald Poole fending off a charge from Donald Fitterer and Bob Cohen. Cohen looking for that second place back almost. Unconventional line, but a defensive one from Donald Fitterer. John Morgan, he said not the greatest of starters in his own opinion. He's got a little bit of space to settle into the rhythm, but behind him, it's all kicking off. Chaos as Paul Stump gets offline, gets onto the marbles, gets a wiggle, and is going to keep it out of the wall, but I think he might have already had damage before that. Something about that front left did not look right to me, because it was the left.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate to lose a couple of drivers early on here. They'll have this good battle as we start lap number 2 for the first couple of positions. We'll see how well they're able to race though. It is definitely a concern that the drivers won't be able to make any moves.
Yeah, what we learned from race number 1 does tempt you to get a bit more aggressive early in race number 2, but Donald Fitterer ain't gonna do it. He's sandwiched in the middle here.
Very different
Greenwood
lines.
runs wide back there through the quick left-hander, so he loses a bunch of positions, and Russ Addy, who I think was already in front maybe, but Ulf Olsen also picks up another spot, and this is the pack behind him. Randy Shoemake here in the Texas colours, getting hounded by Marcellus Bräuning.
Yep, also very tight here is the 61, not having the best luck in race number 1. Hope for a better showing this time by. Potentially going to have a look into the Andretti hairpin, taking a very defensive line on the outside. The inside was the number 3 car. They're going to go side by side on this corner to turn 3.
Shoemake nearly outbroke himself into the hairpin. Gave this look to Bräuning, who's still looking, still fishing around, but it's going to cost him. He's got offline, he's had a wiggle. Now Bob Kern wants in. It's battle of the spec maps in this one, but I think Bräuning might just hold on.
Yeah, through the fast left they go. Critical corner. So easy to get wrong in so many different ways and carry the speed all the way up towards the corkscrew. As Bräuning's eyes firmly back onto Shoemake in front, as Kern behind now, dropping back ever so slightly.
Good racing all through the field, and what you hope for is things to be a little tidier and a little cleaner in race number 2. I'll go ahead and jinx it on lap 3. Looks like it so far. Bräuning trying to follow that slipstream of Shoemake. I think it'll be tougher to trick him into outbraking himself now that you've already gone and shown your hand, though.
Looking for a similar move into the hairpin again, this time no such luck. Gonna go for the switch back there, but a tight line this time being taken by Shoemake. Just see the understeer there. Carried about as much speed as that car looked like it wanted to take and still managed to drop back.
Yeah, indeed. Get a great view of it. You've got to be all the way alongside down the inside there if you're going to do it. And Bräuning knows it. They thought, nah, this run's not going anywhere. It's best to wait. Behind them, that had been Kern digging sandcastles. Shoemake, though, gives it up. Thought, no, this goes on for too long. It's too risky. And he has gone and let Marcellus Bräuning through. Secure Cars maybe next to give that a go. Deeper in the field. Oh, more sausage curb. Oh, avoiding action by a couple of cars. This is what happened early on lap number 1. And I can tell you that definitely is a Dick Johnson Racing livery.
Yeah, I'm starting to see the problem with that right front tyre there. Not doing a particularly great job.
Are you as mechanically minded as I am? It's got to be hanging off by the tether before you're like, there's the problem.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem there at that point, I think. Sight and lock, maybe not so much. The car still drives, but at that point, I think that tyre can go firmly in the bin. You've got to get a bit of a repair going on over there.
This is up front though. What a race. Donald Poole leads. Fitterer and Cohen right in pursuit. And not letting the leader get away in this race so far. The pressure still on him. The pressure on Marcellus Bräuning. Don't know what to say. Here's how.
Oh.
Just enough sand.
Still no contact with the wall there. Plenty of runoff on the inside of the corners, which you don't often see that much, but definitely helping out a lot of drivers here that are just struggling with staying inside of the white lines on the exit of the corners.
Lap 6, this is about the window where we saw drivers starting to set their fastest laps of the race in race number 1. Fuel burns down a little bit, tyres pressure up, drivers get their eye in and their confidence as well. So if anyone's got more to give, now's the time to pull it out of your pocket in the second 2 races. Ulf Olsen, so it'd be Steve Greenwood behind him as they race towards the corkscrew. Saw plenty of Greenwood's driving and lines in race number 1. Are they going to work to get him around Ulf Olsen? Like Turner and Kern swapped places just behind this as well. There's a bit of a train forming there. That's what's so good about this championship, is every race, all the way through the race, it's not just, oh, here's a good battle for the lead, but no one ever seems to have a boring race. Everyone races someone at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It comes with the territory there. A fairly large field in the series. Definitely Laguna Seca, not the longest circuit in the world, so you're always going to have someone on the track. If not to battle directly with, at least to chase or be chased by in some drivers' cases. Just that visual reference is always so helpful.
It's a growing league. It's a growing league too. I say it. More people turn 60 every day.
This is true.
I gotta wait till 2055 to submit my league application, unfortunately.
I've got a little bit longer than that.
Hugo will do it next year. We're gonna learn some new Portuguese words when he comes back to me from that one. JC Hay, we're looking at him in 14th, and he's got what a view. I mean, I think you like this. You like this as a driver. Got to be careful in that first gear. I think there's that downshift in the first gear that might have kicked the rear loose. It's the only corner they're using first gear, so you do got to be careful. But I think you like that view. There's a lot of cars in front, and that means a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, as a driver, the first thing you love to see is your car on top of the driver standings with a clear track in front of you and behind you. The second greatest thing you want to see is a bunch of people in front battling, because chances are they're going to wreck, and if they don't, it's just going to slow them down and give you plenty of opportunity to sneak the nose up the inside or around the outside or between, down the middle. Definitely loads of overtaking opportunities come from other people trying to overtake in front of you.
I want him to win so we can chat with him and ask him what his favourite flavour of Monster is, because I'm struggling to put together the 60 plus demographic and Monster Energy.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Personally, only flavours that I've ever had are the 2 mango flavours, because I knew I'd probably like them. I was falling asleep trying to drive home from Le Mans, so that was very helpful. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we need to get him into the interview anyway. Just get him in to ask that question specifically and nothing else. No context required.
Going forward, we absolutely should have some kind of interview lottery where the series administrators, draw a name and send them our way. But racing is still pretty good here in race number 2. You got under 2 seconds to cover your top 3. Leader not getting away, and then a bit further back here at 6th and 7th, where they're still only 10 seconds away from the lead at this point. Ulf Olsen driving just well enough that Steve Greenwood is not getting around him. Pretty evenly matched, these two. I think if the positions were reversed, you'd see Olsen about the same distance behind Greenwood.
Lap 10 of 24, so drivers still have plenty of time to try and catch up to the guys ahead. And we don't have a 5-second gap in front, it's more of a 0.5 of a second gap in front, which is much better to look at, but doesn't really seem to be much more helpful for the driver in second to make a move, being 5 seconds back or half a second back.
Uh-oh. You'll never guess who spun at the Andretti hairpin.
Oh, not again.
My man's qualified so good in this one. The opening laps were great as well.
Promising. So promising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not his track.
So one of the many, many battles going on at the moment. There's leaders of Olsen and Greenwood we've been showing you. There's Randy Shoemake and Bruce Poole, and they got Jack Turner and Bob Kern. A pretty hard charging Jack Turner as well. I think he's catching up on all of this. Shoemake succumbed to the pressure a little earlier in this race. Now Bruce Poole is the one applying the heat. Bruce Poole, Club Canada. Is he going to be worried about seeing Turner in his mirrors?
Difficult to say. But it's great to see loads of cars on the screen at the same time. Hopefully we can get those two catch up a little bit more. We can have a four-way battle for these positions. Maybe promote a couple of more mistakes than we've been seeing, because the drivers out there after this first race have sort of got it right, and not too many mistakes that we're seeing so far in race number 2. Oh, it's a battle for the lead.
This is the race lead, and it's on Fitterer and Poole. Poole's got the inside. Your pole sitter with the short way around the Andretti hairpin. Fitterer really, really making it work, and then Poole digs up a little bit of the grass. Red wiggle, green wiggle, or oh gosh, which one are the green and red Teletubbies? But we've got some real primary colours here.
We'll see if Fred is faster. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll settle it once and for all here. This is the definitive science experiment. Is red faster? Poole holds on to the lead. That's some of the most pressure he's come under in a while. That was Fitterer's fastest lap of the race just then at a 1:18.2, so more than 2/10 faster than he managed last race. Same weather conditions, he's upped the ante.
Here's my thoughts on this. Green car won race 1. Green car is leading race 2. Red for stop, green for go. Does it really get any more complicated than that?
Ooh, no, that's pretty good logic. I mean, that is incredibly difficult to argue against.
We got half the race to find out.
I've only ever raced orange, grey, blue, and yellow cars, so I gotta get myself a ride with someone with a green machine. Where does orange then fit into your scheme? The Dane Baird unified scheme of race car colorings.
Well, if the green is going to be fast, the red is going to be slower. Then I would say orange is going to be between the two. It can have a slow day, it can have a fast day, because for some reason it doesn't work like this in the rest of the world, but at least in the UK, we go on orange. We're not supposed to, but we do. Oh, Cohen.
Yeah, was he up? He was up into third. Remember, he was going with the leaders earlier. He's dropped back. John Morgan, race 1 winner, through into third, and Cohen still building sandcastles, digging trenches. Now this might not be his own fault. I struggle to pin that one on a skill error from Bob Cohen. I think he got corkscrewed on that one.
Oh dear. I should have known something was coming. The clearing of the throat was too ominous. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one as well. But
I'm simultaneously pleased and disgusted with myself that I don't think... He doesn't seem angry, but I don't think Cohen will be pleased.
no, definitely not. So much dust on the circuit there. I'm surprised the drivers are actually making it around.
Donald Poole, Donald Fitterer, 0.4 of a second. Fitterer was close and he had a good run a couple laps ago. Now he's just maybe hurting those tyres too much, sitting at this distance back.
Barely a gap between the two of them.
I mean, it's been this all race long so far, hasn't it? Except that
Must be
one time
infuriating.
they break side by side into the hairpin. Yeah, but the whole time you can sense the opportunity. You know that any measurable mistake from Donald Poole is going to give you the race lead if you're, half a second back.
I don't know, I would definitely be getting frustrated at this point. Just sitting behind the leader. Ooh, a little bit loose there from Poole. Gap's gonna come down, Gap's gonna go straight back up again as soon as they reach the medium speed corner.
Laps do tick off and fly by here. These guys lapping in the 118s. In fact, Fitterer, last lap, not the one just completed, raised the bar, lowered the bar, improved on the fastest lap of the race. So he is really, really pushing here, and you can tell by how close he got into the hairpin that time around. 118.1 shaves yet more time off the fastest lap of the race. The one lap speed for Fitterer, undeniable, fastest lap in race number 1. This deep in a race number 2, laying down a time like that again.
Ridiculously fast out there. Oh, just looks so sketchy with the cars going through that part of the circuit, but close between the two drivers, making their way through the corkscrew. The heavy braking zone, especially when the car's with the accordion effect. Must be so tempting for Fitterer just to get a little bit later on the brakes, try and send it. Coming up to some lap traffic now could be interesting.
In the Australian parlance, you got to have a dip. You got to give it a go at some point, right? The kids say hashtag send it or something. By kids I mean you, Dane.
Yeah, definitely needs to... I need to figure out a way of getting that message portrayed to Fitterer. Send it, we want to see it. We want to see it happen. 2.5 tenths separating them, please. Just go for it.
This demographic takes lick the stamp a bit too literally, maybe.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you might be right there. I think I've never actually licked a stamp in my entire life.
Many of these drivers are going to watch this broadcast back and be absolutely disgusted with you, but a couple of years, head start I've got, I'm probably still single-digit stamp licking.
Blasphemy.
Just a closing window of opportunity for Fitterer here. Now running lap 17, about to start 18. That's 3/4 of the race done, and he's right where he was, by the end of lap number 2. I think Randy Shoemake's lost the position at the corkscrew. He has Bob Kearns gotten past, and the next to line up is Jack Turner. Gahardis Jorison is close for the lead as well, so this one could end with a bit of a fireworks display.
It's dropped back again. I think through turn 3, the dirty air has just murdered any chance of Fitterer closing down that gap into this corner. Very wide entry to this corner, fairly narrow exit. It's very tempting to send it up the inside, but once you do, just drop back again because there's no exit speed to be found. Oh, a little bit of a touch of the red curbs there for Fitterer. It's definitely starting to heat up though, closer than they've been in a while through this part of the circuit. A little bit of oversteer though through the corkscrew is going to put him straight back again.
I can only imagine how difficult it is to follow at that distance this long. It throws around the balance of the car, it wants to understeer, then it wants to oversteer. You've got less visibility, even less visibility of where those red curves, etc. are. Here is Bob Kern, worked his way up to 9th at this corner of the racetrack last lap. Seems to be a place that Randy Shoemake doesn't have quite as much confidence on the brakes as some of those around him. Jack Turner take advantage of this.
Gonna have a lovely little battle here for 9th position. 4 cars all on the same shot as they go across the line and start lap number 19 for themselves.
Everyone in these cars, I think, looking for that second apex. It is interesting how for the same layout, for the same racetrack, different cars have, you know, a different optimal line based on whether they're more limited by their braking or their traction or other things.
I think we might start to get an overtake or two happening in the very near future here. Turner really catching up to Shoemake, and as soon as Turner starts to get limited by the dirty air, you definitely bet that Jorison's going to be right on the back of him. 3/10 separating each of these drivers from the driver ahead. Now, was a bit of a mistake from Shoemake. Turner's going to look for it in the final corner.
Yeah, I think Kern ran a little off the track up there actually, and Shoemake a little too far back. Jack Turner still trying to work out where his opportunity is. Shoemake looks all the way around the outside, so for Kern, he's starting to be just a little more cautious.
Maybe tyres not playing ball at the moment.
Well, they really aren't. Look at that. Front tyre's just gone. Shoemake looking in a place he can't get around. Turner looks around the outside, finds the grass, finds the gravel, doesn't find the tyres. He's going to get back onto track. But is there even a problem with the front wing, maybe, for Kern? Did he hit the front wing on a curb? Because he's just pushing wide here, pushing wide there. Looks to be missing some straight line speed as well. Shoemake, not a great run at the bottom of the hill. Jorison looking, door gets closed. Oh, Ulf Olsen.
Oh. That's into the penultimate corner there. Oh, it's a battle for the lead. Look how close it is.
Yeah. Some of the traffic might be starting to play a little bit of an effect. Poole not as recently experienced with driving in the turbulent air and the traffic. For Fitterer, it's a normal day on the job, so that might just give an opportunity. For Fitterer, anything that's a change, that's a shake-up, is not going to benefit the status quo, which is Donald Poole. So everything then is an opportunity for Fitterer to do something different, to attack some way different. He's going to stay in second for the moment, but he has just been this close all race long, and whoever wins is going to deserve it.
Lighting up the rear tyres was Fitterer, I think. Got back into that stage. Oh, look how close they are in the braking zone. 3 car lengths, 2 car lengths.
He
Down the
squared
straight.
up the throttle and the acceleration zone as well to get plenty close to have a look in towards the hairpin. Oh, he wanted it. Just 1 car length too far back.
It is so close between these two. And I think Fitterer's best bet at this point, fake send it. Don't actually send it because it'll probably end up in a not so nice scenario, but fake send it. Try and force Donald in front of him into a mistake. I think that's the only way he's getting past at this point.
Pulls eyes away from the braking zone and the apex and towards his mirrors. Hardest Yorison. I hope we don't miss this. He's carrying a traffic cone around. Oh no, he just got rid of it. Okay, Yorison gave one of the traffic cones a nice little 3-corner tour of the circuit. Stays oh so close up front between our leaders.
Oh, that
traffic.
car's...
Yeah, there is more traffic happening now towards the tail end of the race.
Just a car length separating them. Ridiculous. After 23 laps, they're still so close. Is Poole going to be able to hang on for a lap and a half or so?
Things I do for commentary. I gave it a Google. The green Teletubby is Dipsy, and the red one is Poe. It's the view into the corkscrew. You need a mistake from the other guy if you're going to pass there in cars like these. Leader Donald Poole holds on. And Fitterer, I mean, the attack and the drive. He gets so close in the final corner. If anything, scares himself and doesn't square up the exit quite as he would like. But it is mighty close. They don't really seem to get all the way up into 6th gear. They wish the straight was longer. One last lap, one last attempt. You're just not close enough in Fitterer's shoes.
Poole with very good car positioning there. Wasn't any space on the outside, but the inside line was way too tight to make anything work. And you'd think now, surely should be able to hold on. Not a great overtaking opportunity left on the circuit. The lap car in front, hopefully it won't cause any drama. Look how close they are. Fitter is going to be... Well, Fitter is going to know did his best, because just looks like the understeer and the dirty air not facilitating passing at this circuit in these cars at all.
The guy in front is perfect. You're just not going to get around him. 2 corners left on the final lap. A little bit of traffic in front. Donald Poole, the pole sitter, is he going to convert that into the race win, into the final corner? You just don't see Fitterer close enough. No pressure, no stress then towards the line for Donald Poole. Pole converts to a win for the 2nd time here in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. And 2 race winners from 2 races. Fitterer and Morgan completing the podium. Bob Kern, Hardest Yorison, Richard Coulomb. Kern, I think, definitely struggling with something on the front. A lot of understeer, missing some of the straight line speed. Yorison, you can sometimes pass into the final corner. Is that an opportunity? A bit wide of the apex for Yorison.
Through the final corner.
Oh, but there's a problem there. Then drive just
Little bit of wheel
picks up.
spin, yeah.
Another close finish in the middle of the field here, and some great racing all the way through between those guys. Charlie and Randy Shoemake. Varley picking up a spot on the final lap. Then those results, Donald Poole, pressure on him all 24 laps. Comes home half a second ahead of Donald Fitterer. Most of that race, I tell you, it was probably even closer than that. John Morgan, race 1 winner, on the podium again with a 3rd place in race number 2. Cohen, Russ Addy, Steve Greenwood, Bruce Poole, Bob Kern, Johannes Jorison and Richard Coulomb. Kern, Jorison, Coulomb, that battle we saw right to the end there as well. Jack Turner dropping off that group, but always threatened for some good overtakes and some great racing. You've Olsen, Varley, Shoemake, JC Hay, super close in that group, 12, 13, 14, 15th place. And pace from our leaders put some drivers a lap down around this shorter lap. Pierre Dione, Robert Love, Peter Hallstrom and Gene Moore. And a little bit more delayed was Eugene Clark. Another just tough race, not stringing the promising speed together for Marcellus Breuning. And then damage or retirements for Jerry Kerr, Mike McCormick, Earl Setzer, Mike Grandy and Paul Stump. Not going to help the team results that Steve Greenwood told us is what those two, that pairing, look for. And some other drivers swinging by our commentary booth again, Dane. And how about our race 1 winner?
What happened to you
John
guys?
Morgan finishes on the podium again, Dane.
Yeah,
Yep.
John, welcome back to the broadcasting booth, and a bit of a different story for you in this one. Not qualifying right up at the front. How much does that affect how your race strategy panned out there?
Quite a bit here. It's, it's a tough track to pass on. So guys that are fighting will sometimes remove themselves from the race. It's a place where you got to be patient and try to stay close. But Donald and initially Bob got away a little bit, and I was working hard to try to get back up. I finally caught Bob. But yeah, it's a tough place if you're not right on the tail of somebody. They can drop you pretty quick here.
Yeah, and then trying to make a move happen once you catch up to the drivers in front. It just seems we were watching up at the front. It does seem almost impossible to overtake without the driver in front making the mistake, because all of the medium speed corners with the slipstream or the dirty air that this car provides, it just seems that it was impossible to get close.
Yeah, there's no real heavy braking zone where you can sort of throw it up the inside or start to make a driver nervous. The track flows that way so that you're right. It just makes it very difficult. You have to wait for the guy to make a mistake. And there are a few corners here where you can sort of make a little flinch and a guy can nick it, but you lose it a little bit coming out of the last turn. If the guy behind you does it properly, he can out drag race you down to the first corner. Same thing if a guy runs a little wide going up the hill, you might get a run on him there. But if somebody doesn't make a mistake, it is very tough.
And just looking to the next round of the series, Gateway, a very different type of circuit to Laguna Seca, of course. What are your thoughts heading into that next round?
I'm not the biggest fan of ovals, but they usually turn out to be quite a bit of fun once you're in them. The cool thing about them is there's close racing for however many 60 laps. I mean, nobody gets away. There won't be any 6-second gaps at Gateway.
Yep, absolutely. Well, enjoy that one. Thank you for having a chat with us here, and congrats on the double podium today.
Thank you, Dane.
Great, of course, to hear from third position in race number 2, but obviously our race 1 winner there, John Morgan.
Yeah, let's move another step up the podium then, because we can get Donald Fitterer, well, you're going to have a green rear wing burned into your retinas after that one. 24 laps of trying. No one can say you didn't give it a good go. What a race.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's tough to pass on this track.
Evidently, I think we just saw a good example of that. You stayed so close so long. Any effect on your tyres from that?
Not that I really felt. One issue was I always braked very early for the corkscrew because I never knew how Donald was going to come into it, and I just did not want to bump him right there.
Yeah, and from second row of the grid there, you got a really, really good start. Made that position early on, I think it was Bob Cohen. Yeah, it was. And then 3 of you ran together a long time in that early part of the race as well.
Yeah, I probably practiced with the AI racing 20 times on the starts, so that gave me an advantage, I think. Doing the AI really helps.
It's interesting tidbit everyone can take. Was there any particular places you thought was gonna be where you could get around Donald? Where were you trying to set up for around the lap?
Well, really, the last corner is the only real safe place, and that requires him to make a mistake, which he did one time, but he beat me down the hill, and he recovered, and I couldn't get by him. And then I was trying, obviously, into turn 1, but I know that if I'm not directly alongside of him, he's going to cut for the apex, and we're going to crash.
Well, well done. I'm sure you're responsible for a bead of sweat or two on Donald Poole at the end of that one.
Boy, I sure hope so. He did a good race. He made very few mistakes, and with all that pressure, he didn't crack.
Deserving win for him, a deserving podium for you. Congrats, and hopefully see you around soon.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys, and thanks for broadcasting the races.
Oh, let me put you on the spot. If you could sell 60 plus racing adventures in 1 or 2 sentences, what would you say?
All guys, where it's at, man. We've got this far. Must mean we're pretty good at what we do.
Yep, I'll take that. They'll put that on the banner for recruitment going forward. Thanks, Donald.
Cheers, guys.
How do you digest that one, Dane? You reckon that's going to boost 60 plus racing adventures numbers?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. That was fantastic stuff, and I think in I got to do maths now. It's not even difficult. 2062, I will definitely be joining thanks to that. That was great words there by Donald. There, definitely be giving it a go.
2062 would be a Winter Olympics year, if indeed winter sports still exist by then. I mean, I can't argue with the logic there from Donald Fitterer. It's Dane Baird level. It's, if we've been racing all our lives and made it this far, we must be doing something right. And it is always very interesting racing and very interesting characters in 60 plus racing adventures. It's been round 6 from Laguna Seca. They do go to one of their 2, oh goodness, that looks like 3 oval rounds. Phoenix could be a road course, but Gateway definitely on the oval, then Most Sport. Phillip Island, that's a good track. Road America, Phoenix. And we'll see you on RaceSpotTV on September the 2nd. We broadcast the season finale from the Nordschleife. What a challenge that circuit is. Congrats to our race winners, John Morgan and Donald Poole. The championship hunt heats up in 60 plus racing adventures. Thanks for joining us. David Haynes, Dane Baird, Hugo Lewis. Remember to subscribe to RaceSpotTV wherever you're watching. We look forward to seeing you soon.